Okay.
On the show.
Do you want me to just go ahead and start admitting everybody then? And then we can give it a few minutes as people get it, because it takes a little while for their audio, all the videos and things to connect. So we can just go and we'll let them know that we're going to wait a couple of minutes and then we'll officially get started.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Well, welcome to all of you who are joining us, just coming in out of the waiting room. We're going to get started in just a few minutes as we have a number of folks joining, a number of families. I think we're close to 80 families joining us this evening. So if you'd be patient with us for a few minutes, we're going to get everybody logged in. Ask that you please mute your microphone while we're waiting and going through this. It helps some of the background noise as we get started. So we'll be with you. Thanks for joining us.
U.S. economy reopens. Many companies are reporting record profits during the
Again, welcome to this evening's event. We're taking a few minutes to get everybody admitted out of the waiting room, and so we'll get officially started in just a couple of minutes, so please be patient as we get everybody in. We have close to 80 families registered to join us this evening for this event, so it'll take just a couple of minutes and then we'll get started.
Very glad to have everyone here tonight, and welcome. We wish we could do this in person, but we're looking forward to that opportunity as we get closer to the fall. Lovely spring days on campus here just now. Wish you could see it. The flowers are blooming, the trees are all out, and the campus is lush.
Well, it looks like we've got everybody in out of the waiting room, so we'll get started. Good evening. My name is Bill Arnold, and I serve as our Senior Director of Alumni and Family Engagement here at Alma College, and pleased to have you with us for this is the first in our series of what to expect when supporting a new Alma student series. We will have two more, one in June and one in July, and we'll share those dates with you a little bit later as well, so you have those. But pleased to have staff here this evening, as well as members of our parent and family board who will be our panelists to provide a kind of firsthand perspective for our parents and family members of prospective students and incoming students on what it's like to be an Alma College family, and they will give you that expert advice. Before we get to them, however, certainly want to welcome our President Jeff Abernathy to share some words and insights and on the perspectives of how we've managed this year and what we're looking forward to in the coming year. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thanks, Bill, and welcome everyone. We are so excited to see you here and to welcome you to the Alma family. It is a time when all of us are beginning to feel as if we're coming out of what's been a long and rather dark tunnel into the light here, and we're fortunate for that. We certainly feel that on campus and know that your students' college year, first college year, is going to be much more like normal, certainly, than this past one has. Well, I'm so proud of the Alma community. We have worked hard, everyone, our students, our faculty and staff, to ensure the safety of this community. Did quite well through this year. I used our quarantine spaces that we designated on campus to keep students safe. Had rise in November with of course, the escalation that we saw across the state, but managed to stay here and in person all year long. Our faculty were amazing. They offered classes that were a blend of in-person in the classroom with the virtual experience when students needed to come in by quarantine. That is not Alma College. We normally are in-person only, and then we're very proud of that. That's what we do. We're about relationships. We are about engaging with our students. We know our students and watch them learn and grow through 4 years. in person. But this last year, we made it all work. We had graduation last, 2 Saturdays ago now, in person on our football field, the first outside graduation we probably had in 60 years. And it was a great day for Alma College, a proud day when our students walked across the stage, and we had that opportunity to a little fist bump or an elbow bump and say, hey, congratulations on 4 years. Every year, graduation is the highlight of the year. Well, I'm afraid we're going to have a blooper reel from that day. It was the day that we had 35-mile-an-hour winds on campus. So I had mortar boards flying across the stage. No one was injured, fortunately, but I was perhaps a little bit humbled when the carpet on stage kept coming up, right, to almost blow us over. Well, we're proud of that moment and proud of the moment that's coming for your students this August. We will have an opening convocation, we call it, which is a mirror image of graduation, an opportunity to welcome them and to welcome you to the Alma community. And so excited as we look forward to that. Between now and then, we'll have a Becoming a Scott Day where they will learn more about Alma College, as you will. And this night and at any time, we want to answer the questions that you have. If you have questions of me, please, anytime, reach out to me. You can get me easily by email, AbernathyJ. But when you arrive in August, I'll give you a card. They'll have my cell phone on it. You're welcome to call that, and we'll put it in the chat here now. Anybody's welcome to reach out to me if I can help. Fortunately, we've got a great team here. It stands ready to help. Everybody on the Alma College campus is ready to help you all as you come into the Alma family, and we want to answer any questions you might have. I'll talk a little bit about the experience that we expect students are going to have this coming fall, because I know student safety is on your mind, as it is, of course, our top priority. We are, of course, going to continue to test students. We placed a very high expectation around testing and had, by the end of the year, 6 different ways to test our students at least on campus to keep everyone safe. The expectation is that our students are vaccinated. Right now, that is strong encouragement. That's likely to be where it's going to remain. But my expectation and my sense is that, if you're not vaccinated, you're going to have to be getting a test, COVID test, at least 3 times a week. That's a lot of work. And I'm hoping students are going to see that probably the better course, if it works for them medically, is to get that vaccination. So, while we'll have the testing line for those students who are getting tested regularly, right next to that testing line on a regular occasion, we'll have those vaccines available if somehow you haven't been able to get it. So that's our hope, to keep everyone healthy and safe, that folks do get the vaccination. But we recognize there's some concerns in some quarters, and so we'll provide the testing as well. But certainly going to be required that you do one or the other as we come back. We will continue to be using social distancing, masking where necessary, but really hoping to get back to the place where the classroom is not this experience that we're having tonight, lovely as it is, but rather the classroom as we've always known at Alma College, an in-person classroom with 20, 15 students in a classroom sometimes, where we don't have to wear masks. That is our hope. We're watching CDC guidance. We're watching the governor's office guidance to know what we will be allowed to do as we come into the fall. But that's the expectation, that we really are getting back to what Alma College is all about, which is relationships, which is being together in person as part of the Alma family. So we're excited about the coming fall, doing all we can to study what best practice is to keep students safe, and we'll keep working on that. And glad to answer any questions you might have about any of that, certainly just now, or any time between now and your students' arrival this coming fall. Well, I think that has probably touched on those items I had, but I'd take any questions you might have about COVID or anything else that's on your minds just now.
Okay, and I think we had a few questions that were submitted previously, but also throughout the evening, you're welcome to enter any question you have using the chat feature. If you're unfamiliar with Zoom, you can scroll over. If you're on a computer or a laptop, scroll over your Zoom window, and on the bottom of your screen, you should see a menu bar, and one of the features right in the middle says chat. If you click on that, a box window will open on the side of your screen, so that there's a chat room, and at the bottom of that, there's a space where you can enter a message and share that to the chat board. And so looks like some folks are doing that. Amanda, I believe there may have been some questions submitted previously that came in about COVID and related things. Do you want to present those, and then we'll touch on any others that come in, but then we'll get to other questions that go.
Sounds good. And thank you so much, Bill, for hosting. For those who don't know me, my name is Amanda Slenski. I'm a proud Alma College graduate, and then I served the college as the vice president for admissions. I always tell folks that I promise that you have a letter in your house with my name on it. So you may not know me, you may have never met me, but I promise you have something in your house with my name on it. So Jeff, a couple of other questions around COVID. What does it look like in terms of policies for students in the fall? And has that been defined yet for the college in terms of things like guests, travel, and quarantining before move-in?
Oh, thanks, Amanda. So we are working out those policies, guests, and travel. Certainly, things are going to ease, no question of that at this point. If we can get students largely vaccinated, mostly vaccinated, I think that's going to make it a lot easier to come back closer to normal for guest policies and the like. Still, we are still evaluating travel. International travel, obviously, right now has got to be limited. We are doing some limited travel for students, individual cases this summer, but we've got to evaluate the broad policy for the campus in the fall. So we'll keep watching, what the circumstances are globally and in the state, and keep you all apprised as we go forward.
And then there was a question about parents being able to help for move-in. We also had that this year. So parents assisting for move-in is not going to be a problem for next year either. We do have some limitations traditionally about having pre-screening or things of that nature, but that should not be an issue. My last one for you, Jeff, is not exactly COVID specific, but a parent is hoping that you can talk a little bit about campus safety and the overall safety of campus and our campus community.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Actually, I just met with our new director of safety and security, who is doing a great job for us. And we have a very, very safe campus. It's a safe community, as you might imagine, Alma, Michigan. And we have a 24-hour security. So security is walking around campus throughout the day. Students can get a ride if they need from security. They can call security at any time. We have a great partnership with the local police force. That's kind of we hope that to be a seamless operation. And those folks, we have a liaison police officer. Those folks are on campus regularly as well. So student safety, as you've heard already, is our top priority. And we do all we can to make sure that students are safe and that they know, how to connect, with security, with police. We tell all our students in the case of emergency, dial 911. I mean, that's just as anywhere. That's important. They know that. But it's the rare circumstance where we have safety concerns on campus. It's a safe campus. It's a safe community. And the resources are available for students if they need support in getting someplace about campus or elsewhere.
I think a lot of the other questions are about like move-in and things of that nature, which we're going to cover a little bit later today. We did have a couple of people come in late, and the question about COVID vaccines has come up again. Do you mind just restating again just the plan for that right now? For
Vaccination, thanks, Amanda. The vaccination is strongly encouraged. That is where we are now. We're going to evaluate. So as you're well aware, many schools have required it. At this time, we feel like we're going to get good compliance, strongly encouraging it. And noting that, look, if you're not getting the vaccination, you are required to do testing. And that means, if you don't do the testing, you don't go to class. I mean, so it's going to be a strict requirement in that sense. And if that trade-off works for students, as of right now, that's what we're going to allow is testing approximately 3 times a week. But we are evaluating as we go through the summer, and we'll make a final determination and convey that to everyone. Right now, I'd say strong encouragement seems to be is where we are, and if that changes in the course of the summer, we'll let everyone know. But we're hoping, and certainly my hope is that every single student gets a vaccination. That is not a mandate, though. It's it's an expectation, and as I've said, if not the vaccination, then the testing.
And then you did mention becoming a Scott Day, Jeff. There is a question about whether or not there's a part for parents in that and what that day looks like. So since you've already mentioned it, do you mind talking a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So there will indeed be the Becoming a Scott Day is our opportunity to get give you a chance to get to know the campus. Hope you'll join your students in coming to campus to get a sense of the place. Probably any tour you had might have been fairly limited because of COVID, and this will be an opportunity to see more of Alma, get to know the resources that are here and in support of your students and you, and we'll give you that opportunity. Those days are mostly in July, and we've posted, I believe, here a link to becoming a Scott Day, where you'll see all those details.
And just one last one for you that just came in, Jeff, and then we'll stop having you have to talk about COVID all the time. We have been celebrating that it's not the first thing we talk about in every meeting in the same way it has been for a while. Will students be able to travel during the fall semester as long as COVID parameters remain the same as they are right now? So for example, could someone travel to a wedding during September, October?
Yeah, we fully expect that they can. It's, again, we're in a very different place now than we were, even 3 months ago and certainly 9 months ago. So we expect that it's going to be normal travel. There won't be restrictions on students as we did put in place this past year because of the difficulty of the circumstance. But it's a different world now, thank goodness, and we wouldn't expect to have any restrictions of that sort.
I think that is all the pieces connected to Jeff. Do you see anything else, Bill? I think we've got those.
No, I think there's some other questions that are there. There are going to be areas that we're going to get to certainly in our next presenters' comments, and then with our parent panel, we'll get at some of these. So at this point, that's all I see related to some of the COVID pieces at this point.
Well, we are so excited to see you all. And again, we've put my contact information in the chat. Reach out if I can help in any way, and look forward to seeing you in person for becoming a Scott Day potentially, and certainly at that opening convocation. It's all coming up very soon. We're excited. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and I'm going to introduce Phil Andre, who works in our student support services area and has been a part of our faculty here on campus. And Phil's going to talk a little bit about our Alma Commitment and how our academic advising works, and a little bit about relationships with faculty, as that's a key part of that academic advising. And so he'll speak to some of that, and that's going to relate to some of the questions that have come in, and then we will shift from there also to bringing our parent panel on. That we'll get to some of those questions as well. So Phil, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you to share some of your perspectives on the items that I mentioned, and then I know there were some specific questions that came in submitted before this session that you're going to answer as well.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So hi, everyone. I'm Phil Andre. I'm currently our Interim Director of Academic Support. I'm also a faculty member in our Integrative Physiology and Health Science Department, where I work with parts of our sports medicine classes and curriculum. So welcome. Thanks for joining us here tonight. I saw some questions in the chat, and like what Bill was alluding to regarding academic advising and registering for classes and such. And let me just first say that this is one of the things I enjoy most about working at Alma. I love being able to have these personal relationships and working with students one-on-one. And, when it comes time to potentially change a major or declare a major or answer those questions, or, even when someone comes in and they're ready to pull their hair out and it's like, hey, it's okay. We've all been there. And that's really what that academic advising piece is about. It's not just selecting classes, but it's about also having those life conversations and, where do you see yourself and what do you enjoy doing, and, what really kind of fills all of your tanks in life, so to speak. So as faculty, we all serve as academic advisors, which is nice because this way your academic advisor is not just someone who oversees and is able to piece together courses over your 4 years, but it's someone who is teaching those courses and understands, the challenges and the rigor of our coursework, and is going to be really there to help, our students navigate those types of items. Sometimes folks are going to come in knowing exactly what they want to do, and maybe they stick on that path. But other times, there's a lot of times we see a lot of exploration, and we see a lot of, new things being learned, and we love that, right? Because while some folks might come in thinking that they're going to be a physical therapist, they might then discover something on the business side of things or something with insurance, right? Who knows, right? You never know what life might hold for you. And that's part of our job, is to help our students navigate that. In terms of academic advising for your students currently, they should be receiving notification in mid to late June from their academic advisor or from the provost's office indicating who their academic advisor will be. At that time, we can then set up an appointment. The advisor and the student can then set a time to meet. This will be virtually, where we can then kind of go through, selecting the courses for that fall semester, and even having some of those early conversations, with what I indicated earlier. What does, where are your interests and what does your path look like currently? There were some questions earlier about a potential 4-year plan as well. And, that's an ongoing conversation. And that's kind of the cool part about that academic advising relationship. It's because we can set multiple pathways for what that might look like early on, but then also as we learn and adapt and kind of see these new adventures, we can then look and see what that 4-year plan will look like with some changes. So that's going to be somewhat of a changing document, right, as time goes on. But it's nice to be able to have those conversations, not just when it's time to register for classes, but throughout multiple points of the semester. And that's going to be a great thing. Also in the month of June, your students should be also receiving some notification on how to navigate the portal and what that online system is like. It might seem a little bit overwhelming at first. I promise it's not. If we can figure it out, your students can figure it out in terms of the technology. So that's going to be a nice and helpful tool where we can engage in the course planning, but also identifying some of those different courses that they might be interested in. And so that's going to be a nice tool to be able to use with the advisor as your student goes through that process. So expect that also in that month of June to be receiving some notification on where to be registering for courses and working with the advisors at that time. And what did I miss, Bill?
Do you want to mention you mentioned kind of a 4-year plan, and
Yeah.
that ties two things. One is the scheduling platform that students have. They can really map out they can see their whole 4-year and those courses that they need and which courses they've and haven't had yet to reach their major.
Yes. The nice part about that is it's something where, as Bill just said, you can really look ahead into those 4 years. So as they enter into a freshman, as a freshman, and especially moving down the line, once they declare a major, you can see what those course requirements are then going to be, and you can plug in different courses into that platform, looking at where things are going to fit. And then that way, it's kind of a little bit more of an educated conversation when they go in and speak with their academic advisor, because then they can address and say, I thought I was going to be taking accounting this term and then looking at moving on into finance in this term, or looking at my biology requirement, or looking at my IPH coursework. Whatever that plan might be, they're able to kind of insert and look at different courses that they might have over the course of that span. Also, if there are requirements that change while they are, at Alma for their 4 years, they also have the option to work with their advisor, work with their department chair, and look at, okay, maybe I can use course requirements that were from my freshman year, or that might change and look more for the sophomore year as well. So there's some flexibility there that our students will work with their advisors, but also faculty members in the department, such that they can look at the path that's going to be best for them as they go forward. We do change curriculum sometimes. That's a normal thing, and it's always going to be for the students' benefit as we develop other courses that are going to be more relevant to what they're going to be learning about, and more importantly, getting into in life after Alma. So that's going to be something that's going to be nice to have that flexibility as we go through that process.
So another question came in individually. Can you talk a little bit about the first year seminar course, what that class is and what it provides for students?
So this is another one of my loves. I'm a lecturer in that seminar. I really enjoy it, and I'm actually working with other faculty members right now to help kind of continually develop and improve and work with our students. First year seminar is a course that every first year student takes. We might have anywhere from 20 to 22 sections, and what's beautiful about this is that each student gets the same type of material that we're going to be studying. So we're looking at things in terms of the study of vocation. What do we want to get out of this college experience? Why did I come to college? And specifically Alma College, a liberal arts institution. What do I want to get out of life? Meaning types of jobs. What are my goals for having a family or for working with my community? Just all those different things. And we really try to explore different interests as we're doing this. And we try to have those intentional conversations. We know a lot of these things develop organically, but the ability to start kind of, scratching that itch a little bit and just kind of dangling that carrot out there, so to speak, so that folks can start thinking about these things is really beneficial. We're going to do a lot of common readings, and these are readings that are from, literature and media from, all throughout time. We read Aristotle, so obviously a very old piece. We read pieces by Martin Luther King. We watch videos. We do other endeavors that are going to be kind of tying together a lot of the media, the literature, the pieces that kind of helped tell our story as a culture and as a society. And again, thinking about how we care for one another and what are the ways that we can have a fulfilling life. And that can look very different for a lot of different folks, but we're going to engage in writing exercises as well to help develop that, because obviously that's going to then spread out into other courses as they go on throughout their 4 years. So I enjoy this class a lot. We had a lot of fun this year. We were pretty flexible, but we had a lot of good discussions, and we're still able to get a lot out of it. And it's just one of those courses that I think it also really helps in terms of what we might call the college 101 stuff, right? So talking about academic advising, talking about where do I go if I have a question about my financial aid package? We have people for that, right? Being able to identify and become comfortable with campus and just really getting a sense of what it's like to now call Alma home, and be able to work within Alma and get the most out of it. And when there's questions, we love that, because if one student has a question, there's probably a lot of other students who have questions on some of these topics. So it's a great way to share information as well, and not just get familiar with Alma specifically and resources, but also a chance to learn about what they can do to get more out of their education over these 4 years, but also opportunities. And it's opportunities to discuss experiential learning and alternative spring breaks. And hey, I want to go to Scotland one day, or New Zealand. Well, let's talk about that. So it's a great course. And the nice part about it is that in this latest rollout that we're doing, 65 to like 70% of the course is going to be pretty much the same. So there's going to be that common experience that students have, regardless of if they have me or Dr. Deals, Dr. Wasserman, whoever the person might be who's teaching that. And that's really important, because then again, we're having that common messaging that students are going to be receiving as they go through this. I apologize. I could talk a lot about that.
We know that you enjoy that course for sure. One more thing I wanted to have you mention, again, related to the 4-year plan. Can you speak a little bit to what we refer to and put out there and call the Alma Commitment,
Sure.
and specifically about getting students completing the degree in 4 years?
One of the biggest philosophies here, and one of our biggest aims, is that students are going to graduate with their degree, and we're committed to doing that in 4 years. And in doing so, we know that sometimes things are going to occur, and if something pops up and there's potentially going to be a delay in that degree, and it's through no fault of the student, they took the classes they needed to, they worked with their advisor, they checked all the boxes, so to speak, and were diligent in doing this. We're going to ensure that the payment, if I'm not mistaken on this, Amanda, you can correct me if I'm wrong, please.
I can answer it for you if you want, Phil.
That'd be great.
Yes. Yep. So we guarantee an on-time graduation. So if through no fault of their own, the students do not complete their degree in the time that they should, which is 4 years for almost everything. So there is an exception for education students where it's a different kind of commitment, but otherwise it's pretty much 4 years for all of our standard majors. We will pay tuition for the 9th semester for the students to complete their degree. So we ensure that students are completing in a timely manner. I always say that your students have to do the pieces that they need to do too. So show up to class, pass classes, do the right things, but we make sure that they're graduating on time.
And that's a great thing. I mean, I look at my own institution where when I did my undergrad, I graduated with a 9th semester, and that was just the way my cohort was for my athletic training major at that point. And we still had to pay that. And it wasn't really something that, we wanted to, but, to have Alma dedicate ourselves to, that 4-year commitment. So it's a nice thing. It's a very special thing. So we're very proud of that.
All right, great.
So can I add one more piece
Sure,
to the
absolutely.
commitment?
Yeah.
So there's 2 other components to the Alma commitment that I'm hopeful that most of you have heard about before, but I just always like to include it as kind of the package that comes with the Alma commitment. One piece is personal, intentional, academic, and career advising. So from the moment that your student said that they wanted to be an Alma Scott until forever, both our academic and career advising is available for students. And so that means whether it's their first career, their 50th career, we're here to support them. And that's a part of our commitment to our Alma students. And then the last piece is what a lot of students love the most. It's what the most exciting piece is, at least to me. So we have a venture program, which is aligned with our mission. And so students will at least always have the opportunity to have up to $2,500 in funding for research, internship, or an off-campus study opportunity. That is their Think Critically. Think Critically, Serve Generously, it's our mission statement, but that's their Think Critically experience. They can then do other things as well and receive funding for that too. So we ensure that every student has at least the one experience with up to $2,500 in funding, but they can also do service work, they can do development work, leadership work, and then apply for additional funds too. So it's a really cool program that the vast majority of our students participate in.
Great, thanks, Amanda. So there were a few questions, and in the chat that I think most of them have been answered. There was about kind of move-in schedules, orientation, registering for classes, and I think Phil responded to a lot of those in his comment. And then I know that there was some posts by our staff in there. So I think for the most part we've gotten all of the questions that have been put in so far. And we're going to shift now to a little bit to talk about helping your students prepare. What can you be doing this summer, and as we lead into the fall, prepare to become a first semester student at Alma? And then what will that first semester look like? What are we thinking about as your students in terms of balancing academics and other commitments? So whether maybe they're in band, or they're in Model UN, or they're in athletes and those types of things. So to give you kind of that perspective, and the people that can best give that perspective, we've got several members of our parent and family board joining us this evening who are going to give their thoughts on those things and take your questions. And so this is your chance to kind of talk parent and family member to parent and family member. You've heard from us, and certainly we're giving you the best answers we can, but there's nothing like the people who have lived through it firsthand. And so we have some of those folks, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves and just give you a little bit about who they are, who their student is, and that a little bit of background, and then we'll get into some of the questions and answers. So why don't we start with Michelle? Why don't you start with the introductions, and then we'll ask the other 2 folks.
Sounds great. Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Sage. I have a daughter, Hallie Sage, who is class of 2022. So Hallie is just finishing her junior year. We are from the greater Lansing area, and Hallie is majoring in biology, pre-veterinary medicine. So she is actually right now applying to grad school. You want me to add, Bill?
No, that's enough for now.
All right.
So, thank you. Don, you want to go next?
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. I'm Don Romaine. My student is Sophia Romaine. She will be going into her junior year at Alma this year. Absolutely loves attending Alma. She's actually, I'm going to say, 4th generation at this point in terms of attendance there. And we as a family have found it to be just an absolutely wonderful experience for her as well as for us. We live in the East Lansing area, so we actually have a relatively short drive for those times when we like to come and visit. So.
Don, you want to mention kind of additional involvement outside of academics that Sophia's involved with?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Sophie is involved. She does some research, which of course is academically connected, but she's also a part of Greek life, which at first my wife and I were both in Greek life when we were in undergrad, had a little bit of hesitancy as it relates to that, with a little concern around how that could impact potentially her academic life. But the good news there is that she's been able to maintain a very nice balance and actually had an opportunity, and in a unique way in our COVID world at present, to really expand her social network, which has really enriched her life.
Okay. Thanks, Don. And our third parent panelist is Catherine. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your student?
Sure. My name's Catherine. My daughter's name is Angela Mish. She just finished her freshman year at Alma, and we're from the Grand Rapids area, downtown Grand Rapids. Angela graduated from an international baccalaureate high school program, so she brought with her a number of those IB credits. Some of you are in that position. She wants to major in biology, but not pre-med. She works on campus in the admissions office, and for the fall, she's committed to a year as an RA in the dorms. She's really looking forward to doing some research in the fall, her first research opportunity, something about schizophrenia in mice with, I think, a psychology professor. And in the spring semester, she's on the Model United Nations team. So those are kind of her activities.
Okay, wonderful. Some of you, Catherine, this was obviously last year. You were in this position of transitioning and becoming into Alma. Michelle and Don, it was a couple years ago for you. But what are some perspectives that you could share on how to prepare? What were some things that maybe in hindsight, either you did or now in hindsight, you'd say, boy, we should have done that to kind of prepare for that first semester transitioning in?
I'll speak to that for a little bit, Bill. Hallie was very involved when she was in high school. She was involved in theater. She always knew she wanted to be a veterinarian. She was involved in band, and that kept her very busy. And as a parent, I took care of a lot of things for Hallie. And hindsight being 2020, and this is a very simple thing, but she mentioned it to me afterwards that it happened. When we received our list of the things that children need, and as your student goes off to college to become this wonderful young adult, she had a list of things that she needed. And I went out and purchased those. Hindsight being 2020, I would have involved Hallie much more in that process. Number one, to grow in that responsibility, and number two, for her to choose the things that she wanted in that situation. Because as she's grown immensely through Alma, she's still involved in the marching band, and she is president of her sorority. Alma has helped her become a absolutely wonderful child that I never thought I would see, full of responsibilities that she never had at home, because I was very much a helicopter mom. And I'm Bill and Amanda, who know me, would say, yeah, Michelle was probably a helicopter mom. But if you can involve your student in the process of becoming ready, and even talking to them about that, and the shopping, and just if you were a college student or weren't a college student, maybe some things that you see that they may have as experiences, just that in hindsight is my biggest recommendation to you as a parent. And don't be afraid to ask questions to any of us or any of the staff at Alma. Alma staff are absolutely wonderful. I.e., as a helicopter parent, I had many questions the first few months, and everyone was there, including Jeff, to answer every question I had about what she needed. And of course, now I never have questions and never hear from her, because she loves her Alma life. She comes home and can't wait to go back.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Catherine or Don, you want to add anything in there? And then there are a couple of questions that were submitted that I'll throw out there. But do you want to add anything in terms of that summer going in, transitioning first year?
Yeah, I'd be happy to add in. And actually listening to Phil just a few moments ago really brought some memories back to me. One thing that I would put out there is be sure to support your student in their exploration of academics and career choices, and let them know that it's okay if they don't know what that is right now. You know, there's a lot of anxiety that gets wrapped up in, well, my friends know exactly what they want to do and I don't. And that's okay, because Alma will expose them to so many possibilities. And then if you do have a student who knows exactly what they want to do, and then they start to waver with that, gosh, I'm not sure if that is what I want to do, let them know that that's okay, because again, they're going to be exposed to so many things, and take that anxiety away from them as best you're able. That'd be my advisement.
Okay. Catherine, anything you want to add in?
I guess what I would say first would be to encourage your student that when they do get to campus and they settle into college life, that they be willing to reach out and use the resources provided to them at the college, because those can be really helpful. You know, for example, you know, if you have a student who's was a really high academically performing student in high school, they may be hesitant to use, you know, like a tutoring service that might be available at the college. But, you know, there's no shame in saying, you know, I need tutoring for Calc 1 because it's something I didn't take in high school. And gee, I found out I'm actually, you know, struggling with it more than I thought I would. And that's fine. You know, kids sometimes have to get over that, that feeling that they can do everything without asking for any help. But they really should be encouraged to connect with those kind of resources, to connect with, you know, their advisors so they can get good advice. You know, my daughter had a freshman year last year, which really wasn't a very normal freshman year in college because of COVID. So it took her like a semester to really kind of broaden her circle and connect with more friends, you know, new friends on campus with regard to other freshmen. But once she got involved in an extracurricular activity, that's really when that happened. So I would just encourage the parents to encourage their students to get involved in something on campus, to learn about the extracurriculars, and that's a good way to connect with new friends.
There was a question, this is somewhat related. It's related more to kind of the move in into the residence halls, that was asked about what are the essentials students need for the residence halls. And now the response to that I know can vary, right? Some people would say, I can't live without my 40-inch television. Would you all have any, and Amanda and other staff can add some comments in here, but from the parents' perspective, what is the feedback that you've heard or from your students about what was they thought was essential maybe, and then really wasn't essential once they got in?
I'll jump in just because my student moved in for the first time most recently. I would say a dorm size mini fridge, a microwave. Those seem to be very important to my daughter. A mattress pad, you know, something really fluffy to go underneath their bottom sheets, just because it makes so much more comfortable. You know, a big rug in the middle of the floor because they are, you know, tile, and a fan of some sort to circulate the air. Get kind of hot in those dorm rooms. Those were kind of the basics. Some really comfy bedding, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe a really good, you know, surge protector with a bunch of outlets on it that's on an extension cord, you know, that kind of thing. They like their gadgets, you know, but they'll find them eventually, and they'll all get Amazon Prime, so they'll all get delivery within a day, and they'll start ordering their own stuff. But, you know, just get them the basics.
Great.
Yeah, I don't think I could add anything in addition to that, Catherine. I think that the basics, and yes, they like the gadgets, because what you'll find is by the end of their freshman year, they will have acquired so many things that they didn't know that they needed, nor did you. So.
And I would agree. And my child took too many things. So she had more than she needed. So all of the clothes and the shoes that they think that they need, they really don't. I think she spent her first 2 months of her allowable money that she was allowed to spend from her parents on Alma swag. And that was her clothing and still is. So that was probably the things that Ellie took that she didn't need the most, but definitely the things that Catherine mentioned were her basic staples.
Good. And I know Katie Yorchuk just put in the chat. There is a link that our Residence Life office provides of kind of a Alma College packing list to give you that idea. And the other piece that we always suggest is once your student gets matched with their roommate, which is a process that they will do. There's an online process where they'll fill out a survey to kind of identify their personality types, the things that they like to do, they don't like to do. And then they'll begin to match with some people that have similar responses, and they can begin to identify who they might want to connect with, reach out to them, get to know people a little bit more. And then once that matching occurs and they can sign up for their room, have them talk about who's bringing what. So you don't both show up with a refrigerator or both don't show up with a microwave, all of those things, who's bringing the rug. And so that really works out well. So it cuts back on the expenses for each family a little bit, and also make sure that they're having the things that they want in a way of equitably bringing that to the room.
Bill, there's lots of questions about what is not allowed. So I'll do a plug for my Residence Life friends. So anything with an open flame or open, like griddles, hot plates, like an open heat source is not allowed. And then we can only allow one microwave per residence hall room. So that's why those conversations are important. Generally, there are some pet and animal limitations too. So if it can survive in water like a fish, you're good to go. But otherwise, if it's not an emotional support animal or something that's already an accommodation, cats, dogs, things like that need to be left at home too. So those are kind of the big ones, is open heat sources and things that breathe that you would be bringing with you are the two things to really be cautious about.
And I can add, and this comes up in one of our actually other members of our parent and family board, the Fitzpatricks, who have been presidents of our parent and family board for the last couple of years. Barry is always one to remind us that, the kids come home to see the pets more than they come home to see the parents. But on that note, to let you know that our counseling center does sort of pet therapy days, and they bring cats and dogs to campus. And so if your family has family pets and your student is going to be concerned about missing them, which they certainly will, there are opportunities over the course of the semester where they can go down to the counseling center, or they're outside near the library where they can get that fix of pet love. And so just know that that's available, because we do know that our pets are part of a lot of our students' families. So any other questions that people have about kind of that move-in, the residence hall room, packing, those types of things?
Bill, I saw some questions a little while back about athletics moves and moving dates, if that's okay, if I can share that. Sure. So some of those athletic dates for your fall athletes, obviously they're going to be moving in a little bit sooner than you would otherwise, just because of preseason practices and such. These dates that I have are tentative, okay, but what I have thus far, and your coach will be in contact with your student well in advance of these, but just to kind of have some tentative dates. Football is always the earliest. We're looking at about August 10th for that date. So in and around within a day or two of that. It's always determined by when your first day of competition is going to take place for every sport. Soccer's, we're looking at potentially about the 18th, volleyball on the 20th, dance looking around the 22nd, 23rd, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Cheer also on the 20th, and golf based off of their first competition, potentially maybe like around that 15th, 16th. But again, your coach will be in touch with you all. So if you have questions on that, please feel free to let them know. And they'll be happy to share that information.
Great. Thanks, Phil. And I would add in there the Kilty Marching Band will be moving in roughly around that 18th time period. But again, Dave Zerby will be communicating with the students in the Kilty Marching Band to confirm that date. But they do usually move in a week or so ahead of the rest of the students to do their what would be sort of band camp prep for the fall.
And I just saw the question again, the dance team, around the 22nd, 23rd is what we know so far. So, I mean, again, contact the coach, but those dates are somewhat tentative at this time.
Okay. I want to transition a little bit into the notion of, again, thinking about that prepping, that balance. We're talking about athletics, we're talking about marching band, that balance between academics and co-curricular and involvement in those types of things. And I know, Catherine, you mentioned it earlier, to encourage students to get involved. But what about that balance? That's often something that students grapple with, and I think parents and family members get concerned about. And I think, Don, you mentioned that a little bit earlier. So Michelle and Catherine and Don, can you just speak a little bit to that juggle, that balancing act, and maybe how your students have managed that? Michelle, you want to go first?
Sure, I will. Hallie has had, and this is from a parent standpoint, quite a juggle. Like I said, she's in the marching band. She's also in percussion ensemble. She's also in the pop band. Like I said, she's president of her sorority. She's involved in several clubs, and she has a job on campus, and last year was also a tutor and took all classes. Hallie had a lot of assistance her freshman year she had a lot of support from Zerby in the band, who's our professor for the band. A lot of support from just her other students and her teachers she was having classes with. Hallie's juggle was that she had so much going on. She didn't have time to do anything else. But she managed that very, very well. And I think I stressed more than she stressed about her schedule because Alma is a good fit for Hallie. And it's because of the warmth of the family that she receives from both the staff and other students. So Hallie's balance came actually from all the support that she had. And I supported her in the best way possible. When I asked how things were going, I'm fine, Mom. So, but we did talk about schedules initially at first to stay kind of involved in what was going on with her and assisting her with just, okay, well, how's that working? You know, you have band until 9:30. Is that cool? Is that going well? And so that's kind of how we handled it. And she did wonderfully.
Okay. Catherine or Don, you want to jump in?
Sure. Every student is different. Everybody's wired differently. My daughter is one of those people who, probably because she's a lot like me, that she does better when she's busier. She performs academically at a higher level when she's busier with her time. And I was the same way as a college freshman. When I had 17 credits, I did better than when I had 12. So, some people are just like that. Some people aren't. But I think that connecting with some type of activity on campus is really important to develop a social connection. So then, as was just said, you have some resources, people to talk to, because they're not necessarily going to tell their parents. To their parents, everything's fine, leave me alone, kind of thing is pretty normal. So don't be offended if you get that. I mean, you're going to get that. But having my daughter's experience, her second semester really was much more positive, a step up. her first semester, she had, 4 friends, her roommate, her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's roommate, just because of COVID restrictions, not because of anything else. But once she got involved in an activity, then she had more resources, more people to talk to, a new professor who could be her sounding board on, the travel that she wants to do in future semesters. And so, busy isn't necessarily bad, but obviously they need to make sure they're attending to their academics.
Catherine, I would concur with the busier some folks are, the better they seem to do. Our daughter Sophie is similar in that regard, and she works as a lifeguard. She does research, and then, as I had mentioned, she's also now involved in Greek life. So there's so much there that's going on, along with carrying a full load. There are times when I'm quite amazed. I think what has really helped her with that balance is that she's developed a very strong relationship with one of her professors, and has had an opportunity to lean in, if you will, to that person for a little bit of the advisement on the academic side. And then Amy, her mother, and Amy and I are here, and we have a really nice and solid relationship. And she often will do the same with us. She'll lean in and ask, "What do you think?" We've made it a point not to tell her, what to do in terms of that balance, but to reinforce with her the importance of academics. That is why she is at Alma. Obviously, the social growth and stepping into adulthood is a natural byproduct of that as well. But we just remind her of the importance of the academics. And there is that opportunity for a little bit of slippage, and I think you just have to brace yourself and anticipate that may happen. But if they do have a solid support person local, that we have found is a tremendous help.
And I would add just real quickly that local support person, there's going to be a lot of individuals, from their resident assistant on their floor, student who lives with them, the first year first year guide, the first year seminar that Phil talked about, the faculty member who teaches that. There's also a student assistant in that class that supports those first year students. And then if they are involved in athletics or band or some other organized event or co-curricular like that, those folks are really there, again, keeping an eye on them, helping them with that transition. And we have an alert system that we use on campus. It's called Starfish. And any of our faculty or staff who have a concern about a student, or if they think a student is seeming a little stressed out, or maybe missed a class or missed practice or something to that effect, we can put an alert in there, and that message goes to all of the people who are connected with that student, the student's advisor, residence hall director, depending on what the question or concern may be. And so everybody really looking out for students if there seems to be that they're stressed or they're not keeping up, or there may be some slippage there. We have systems to really look out for that and make sure people are dialing in and checking in with those students. So all around, I think, again, asking those questions, having those conversations is what I'm hearing from our parent panel about just staying in touch, checking in, how they're doing, encouraging them to connect with someone on campus if they do have questions. So we're drawing close to our hour time period here, and I know there were several questions. One of the biggest transitions often is the question around financial aid and financial aid packaging. How do we manage the financial aid? When are payments due? So I'm going to ask Amanda, kind of one of our resident experts here, to touch on some of those, because I know there were a few questions submitted earlier, but also some general comments around financial aid. So Amanda, you want to take that on right now?
For sure. So I think one of the biggest things to remember is that the admission staff is here, and so is the financial aid staff is here to help you through this process. So we are actually offering families, many of you would have already had a conversation with an admissions representative about your financial aid package from Alma, scholarships, next steps, and the like. Katie Yorchuk is going to put a link into the chat where you can actually also start to register for an individual appointment with a financial aid representative. So we will walk you through individually for your family this entire process. We are very, very dedicated to making sure that we're transparent about this, and we're helping you to really do the full plan at Alma and make sure that we are helping your family with your specific family's needs. A lot of folks are asking what the next steps are. I would say scheduling that appointment is a great next step. Broadly, around the summertime is when we're going to do some additional next steps around loans and payments and things of that nature. We will walk you through all of that. So you will have a guide through all of that process. We'll make sure you know the next thing that you need to do. There's also like checklists and things to your students portal to make sure that they're doing what they need to do as well. But that appointment is probably the best next step. There were lots of questions about whether room and board is combined with tuition. So since almost all of our students live on campus, unless you are a commuter student, which those are pretty few and mostly in the local community, you will have only received an aid package that includes everything, but it is listed separately for tuition, your room payment, and your meals. So what you would actually see on that financial aid package are those three pieces broken apart. But in terms of total cost of attendance, it's really all encompassing at Alma. I like to say it's like an all-inclusive resort, like you pay for the one thing and it includes all the stuff for you. So that is kind of the approach for it. What I would recommend is if you have questions on that breakdown, just let any of our admission staff know, and we're happy to answer those questions for you, but we can go through that at any time with you as well. There were lots of questions about payments and billing. So bills will go out in late July, and then families have about a month to make either a payment or a payment plan. So we have a couple of different payment plan options, and Katie will put that link in the chat as well to allow you to see what options are available for payment plans. There are some that are breaking, it's automatically in 2 payments, but you can go up to 10. So we can work through that together. We also talk about it as though it is putting pieces of a puzzle together. So sometimes families do some where they will pay directly, some will be a loan, some will be a payment plan. So you can put all those pieces together and we'll help you through that process. You should only be considering stuff coming directly from Alma College or from the federal government. So there was a family who asked about a company called Nitro, which is sending emails that's basically saying Alma College 2020 class. Yeah, they're not connected with us. So if it is coming from Alma, it'll say from Alma, or it'll be from the federal government. It will say .gov on it, or coming from your FAFSA. So federal direct loans, federal plus loans, all of that comes from the federal government. Everything else comes from us. If you have a question, you can just screenshot it and send it to us, and we'll let you know whether or not to, I don't want to say pay attention to it because you should read whatever you want to read, but to whether to be cautious or to be something that you want to explore. What we are also wanting to make sure that everyone is aware of is the fact that this process is really customized for every family. So again, those appointments are critical, and that link's right there for you to go ahead and schedule that. I think I covered all the questions around financial payments and financial aid, but I'll do a little peek to make sure. I think I did. I think I caught them all.
Yeah, I think you
might be
did.
okay.
I think you did. And obviously, if there are others, please feel free to enter those in the chat. I do know there's one question that got added about how long is the Becoming a Scott Day event?
We found out today.
So
meeting today. It will be from about 9 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. So we will feed you lunch. It'll be our first shared food experiences that we have had on campus with guests since last year, February. So it'll be outside and safely and all those pieces, but it'll be a pretty full day from about 9 to 3. We do work with families that are coming from further away to make sure that we can help with overnight accommodations the night before if needed, or travel and things of that nature. Your admission staff will help you with that piece of it. The other component to keep in mind is there is a virtual option. So we have lots of out-of-state families in this incoming class, and so we want to make sure that we had that as well. If coming to campus is not feasible for whether it's that reason or another reason, there is a virtual option as well. But the vast majority of our students will go through that pre-orientation day, which is Becoming a Scott Day in July. And Jeff mentioned this a little at the beginning, but there's a track for parents and supporters, and then there's a track for students. So there will be a full day for both folks to make sure that you kind of get that welcome to the Alma family and that orientation component.
yeah, and it's to Amanda's point, and some of that is, there's a time for you to then ask questions from a parent and family member perspective and specific information. And there's times involved with that where the students are connecting with other students, right? This is their first time to connect with those who are going to be their peers at Alma. And so we want that time for them to start to become a little bit self-sufficient, but we want you to have that time to get your questions answered, some details about that you may have, things that they may not be even on their radar right now, but you're certainly thinking about those things. So again, as we're drawing close to the end of our time, I want to get any other questions that you have or may have that have not been answered yet. Also want to remind you that we have 2 additional events scheduled for this series of what to expect when supporting a new student. Our next one is going to be on Wednesday, June 16th from 6 to 7 p.m. And then the third session will be Tuesday, July 13th. And so you'll get additional email invitations and invitations and instructions to how to join those if you want. And each one of those will focus on a different set of topics as you're making those plans. You and your student are transitioning and thinking about getting closer to coming to campus to move in. We're going to be addressing some of those timely topics so that you can be best prepared to start the fall on the right foot. So any other questions? So there's a question about transfer credits from a community college.
I was typing my response, but I talk faster than I type. So we need an official transcript from that community college that can be sent through one of the many transcript sending sites that any community college would utilize. So there's things like called Parchment and things of that nature. We also can take an official transcript sent directly to either the registrar's office at registrar@alma.edu or the admissions office at admissions@alma.edu. So we will take it any which way, and Lexi is putting those email addresses in there. The other piece is, and I'm going to have Ray Bushholtz is actually here as a parent, but she's our director of transfer recruitment tonight. I'm going to have her put a link in the chat that has to do with being able to calculate those transfer credits. So we have a really cool tool that you can actually put in the classes and see how they transfer in. And so that will allow you to do that. Anything that is upcoming, if you can send your admissions representative or to either of those emails, the classes that that student is taking with the school, the course titling, and then the name of the course, we can actually check to see what transfers and what does not.
Great. I knew, Amanda, there was a question or two earlier that I noticed about people were asking about how students, or will there be a space for students to upload their vaccination?
Yes, yeah, I was trying to find y'all an answer during that. That's why we hadn't answered it yet. It is in progress. So we will likely have a space for it with all the rest of the vaccinations. That is not confirmed yet. So we will continue to update. We will make sure we inform students. I am pretty sure that's where it's going to be, which is on their Inside Alma, which is where they do everything. But if it is different, we will let you know. And once it is live and launched, we will let you know as well. So that I would recommend that that's one thing you send your student with, that they're vaccinated. So we usually encourage that they have the proof to be able to have a job on campus, which for a lot of students is their passport or something similar. And then I would send them with that vaccination card just to have it if for some reason that changes as things go forward. And then there was a question about church options, Bill. I can cover that. Sure. So we do have a lot of different worship locations around the city of Alma and in the city of Alma. On campus, we offer interfaith services. So we offer a non-denominational Christian service. We offer services within the interfaith umbrella. So that means it changes each Thursday in terms of what service is being offered. And then we also offer Catholic Mass on campus. So those are all options through our almost newly renovated chapel. Construction has started and it will be there in the fall, but that allows students to find the right fit for them. There are a couple of religious denominations that's a little bit further. So our Mormon students have to go just a little bit further, and our Muslim students have to go a little bit further, and our Jewish students go a little bit further, usually to Mount Pleasant. So it's about a 15-minute drive, but we will assist students in finding the right spaces for them and connecting with the right people.
So I put a link into the webpage that's our spiritual life and services that you can look at. But again, Reverend Andrew Palmerville, who's our chaplain, is the main point of contact that can assist you he is fabulous and is very supportive of all of our students, regardless of faith background, and can help them connect either to a group on campus or, as to Amanda said, to a religious community off campus to fulfill their spiritual needs. So certainly want to make sure that all of our students are finding that connection. So any last questions? Otherwise, we're going to wrap this session up. As we mentioned, there's going to be another opportunity in June and July. I would put out there, and this has been mentioned a couple of times, if you do have specific questions pertaining to your student or your family situation, please don't hesitate to contact your admissions representative. They're there to help you. They know you, they know your family's unique circumstances, and can certainly respond to those questions. The other piece that I would say, and I know this because I work with our parent and family board throughout the year, is our panelists' parents would be happy to entertain individual questions if there's something you didn't want to ask in the large group space. And if it's not one of these folks, we have about 10 other families on the parent and family board, so we can direct it to someone that maybe have a similar situation, connection point. If you're an out-of-state family, any of those types of things, one of our parent and family board members can respond to you if you have a particular question. So with that,
can I answer one last question
yes.
about the next? So there was a question about whether or not the other sessions will cover different things, and they will. So any question is always available to be answered at any time. But just like Phil was here to join us today to talk about academic advising, and then we had President Abernathy here to talk about COVID response, we will be having special guests at the other ones as well. So in June, we're going to talk about the first year experience, and then also support services like counseling and wellness, disability services and accommodations. Residence life will be here. So all those questions about roommates and what to bring and what not to bring, athletics and campus organizations, and then more information about performing arts. And then July, we will have all of our COVID-19 policies in place. So we're going to do another recap of that for the fall, and then academics and support for academics, and then also just expectations for the entire first year. So how to best support your students around number of credits to take if their GPA is not where they want it to be, or if they're struggling in different ways, like how to best support them. So that will be July.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you all again for joining us. We are recording this, and so we will have it available if there's something you want to go back and revisit, but we can make that available to you. Otherwise, make sure you reach out if you do have questions, and we'll be in touch soon. So thank you, and go Scots.